But first, we're going to be catching up with Ivan. Now, as you remember, the opposition to Urban Tolling Alliance, that is Outa, recently changed their name to reflect its new function and mandate, with their chairman Wayne Duvenhage saying that the Civil Interventions Unit focus is now firmly fixed on holding those who misuse taxpayers' money to account. Joining us to discuss the genesis and future of Outa is Ivan Herselman, who is the Executive Director of Legal Affairs at the organisation. Ivan, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I think when you think about Outa, we go back to thinking about the e-tolls and how you've firmly been against that. Is this a battle that you still think you can win?
We believe so. The next phase of e-tolls is our collateral challenge to the summons that have been issued. This challenge could take another 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending whether we go only to the High Court, only to the Appeal Court, only to the Constitutional Court. We just don't know at this stage. But we knew from the beginning that we had a strong case, and we still believe so.
Even why the decision now to widen your scope and change the business model, so to speak?
Well, what was the e-tolling challenge? The e-tolling was not a challenge to tolling as such. It was a challenge to the abuse of government power and the abuse of government funds in a way that offends the values, principles and rights as enshrined in the Constitution. And we view that as tax abuse. And we've seen that modus operandi replicated in various areas of government. And Wayne started receiving a lot of calls and a lot of suggestions that maybe the organisation should expand its mandate and start looking into other fields of tax abuse, other areas where policy, law and conduct is being used in a way that offends the Constitution.
To do this, it costs money. So how do you fund this?
We have individual members and business members and organisations that are funding us on a monthly basis. They, a few small amounts make amounts that put you in a position to be actually be able to tackle. We're growing on a monthly basis. Our support is growing. Our structures are growing. Our staff is growing. We are becoming a more competent, effective civil intervention engine.
Now, where else can we look forward to seeing Outa's footprint? Is this going to be centred around government institutions and misappropriation of funds?
At this stage, we can't be all things to all people. So our focuses at this stage are mostly on state-owned corporations. We're looking into Eskom, looking into South African Airways, looking into SANRAL outside of the e-tolling, long-haul tolling, some of the other projects that they are trying to initiate, and we'll be expanding hopefully later into areas such as water, infrastructure regarding water, kind of projects they start up, the people they procure to deliver these services.
Let's talk about the investigation strategy and the process. Obviously, you can't be seen going against something where your facts or the investigation is not correct. Talk to us about that.
That's difficult. It takes a lot of fact checking. That's the difference between an organisation that only makes noise and an organisation that would be able to effect some kind of positive change within these government institutions. We have investigators and researchers working for us on a full-time basis. We need more, and we are appointing more in the near future. And it's these people and the lawyers within our organisation, our external legal team's responsibility to make sure that these facts have been checked. You always run the risk of people purposefully misinforming you to cause you to bring yourself into disrepute, and we are mindful of that fact. It has happened to a lot of organisations.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
Try and vet the information to its original source as far as possible. Not use level 10 information to make public statements, and where the information hasn't been vetted, at least qualify saying allegedly and use words like that.
Yeah, it is understood.
It is understood that. Yeah.
To what extent do you rely on whistleblowers? Because you mentioned researchers, you've got attorneys that are working on this, inside information, whistleblowing.
Well, many of our investigations are triggered from different sources, and one of them is whistleblowers. Whistleblowers have a phenomenal role to play in South Africa in getting these organizations to function properly. They have the level 1 information very often, and very often they have the most credible source of information, and the brave men and women that are prepared to put themselves at risk to assist these organizations to function properly to the best interests of South Africans is just absolutely amazing. There are a lot of them coming forward.
Ivan, we certainly will be watching to see what else you'll be up to, as you mentioned, state-owned enterprises and misallocation or misusing of, of taxpayers' money. That is what we'll be looking out for. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. A very big thank you to Ivan Herselman. He is the Executive Director of Legal Affairs at Outa.